Langley Speedway is a classic cars tour destination, late model stock track, and short track talent hotbed, but it's also free content on iRacing and one of the Sim's hardest tracks to pass cleanly at. And we're going racing here virtually this evening instead of the track's usual Saturday Twin 50's because, to beat the rain, we're taking it to iRacing. Welcome to Pit Stop TV and the virtual Langley Speedway. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV. I only say that a million times and I still can't get through it. I've got Terry Radford alongside me this evening, and unfortunately, as I said, rain does impact real-world racing quite often, but we can get around it, and we're doing so in this case. Rain or shine, we can always go racing on iRacing. We're doing that this evening, 50 laps twice here at Langley Speedway on the iRacing.com service with late model stock cars. Terry, welcome to the virtual Langley Speedway. It's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And you talk about this being free content for iRacing. Most people don't get an opportunity to know what iRacing is, but you can go to iRacing.com and get 40% off being a new member. You can race this track. It's 0.3 of a mile. You see it under the lights. It looks better in person, but iRacing did a really, really good job of scanning this here. You see the graph popping up there. This is going to be a beautiful spot in Hampton, Virginia, and I just hope all those people that got rained out are watching here on all the wonderful platforms they can watch it on.
You know, we might get a few, because we do have some real Langley competitors and crew guys in this race, so we might get a few cross-pollinating over as qualifying is rolling here. Let's go straight to qualifying. We'll talk about the rest hoopla after this, but Travis Wall is on track in the pit lane in car 44. We've got Anthony Fowler wrapping up his run in car 5, a very much Josh Berry-looking Tire Pros Chevrolet. Here's Josh Cottle from Elite Performance Industries, powered by the shop. A big-time super late model guy running a lot more late model stock stuff this iRacing season, and Josh will go P2 here in qualifying in car 13. There's a few others on track, including Joshua Osborne. As you take a look at the ticker there on the left side of your screen, Osborne's done. How about Heather Edwards?
Yeah, you look at Heather Edwards right here, trying to get a good lap. We'll come across the board. We'll get a 15.8 with the current time. That's going to, where are they going to jump her out here on this board? Last, 0.3, and here's a nice one with Mr. Horton.
Chris Horton in car 42, currently 17th quick now, just behind Heather Edwards, so the new slowest time, we hate to say, but should pick up here on lap number 2, and to the line, Chris Horton does pick up quite a bunch, 7/10 or so, and that moves Chris into... well, stays apparently 17th spot. Here's Kyle Terzak, though, on track, and Kyle is usually quick in this late model stock car. A 15.578 is going to place the 51 in 12th position. Billy Smith now on track, and as far as Chris Horton, that lap that I mentioned was actually invalidated, so unfortunately couldn't use the better lap 2, to go up the board. Here's Billy Smith in car number 20. We still have DJ Powell yet to qualify because he is our admin. As looks like we have our 19th and final car on track, car number 20.
Yeah, 19 cars around this wonderful racetrack. It is going to be good. I mean, I look up and down the board. You see drivers from all over the spectrum. The one that pops out to me is the driver sitting there in 11th, Tristan McKee, in the Carolina Pro Late Model. Drives in the Cars Tour as well. Track champion at a good bit of places out here. He made a name for himself, and I've dubbed him the future of this sport. The kid has a ton of talent and a ton of potential.
Definitely. There's a lot of those guys, I think, that run a lot of these events specifically put on by Elite Performance Industries, powered by the shop. I noticed there's guys like Joel Smith from Legend Car Racing that specifically go through EPI and are a foundation almost of Pain Built Legends and EPI Legends program. There's so many names I could rattle off with only so little time. Let's talk about the weather conditions in the sim for this race. Thankfully, very few. I was going to say no clouds in sight in the previous shot, Terry. Well, there are a few clouds out there outside of turns 3 and 4, but they don't have rain. That's the good news here. 74 degrees in the air, 77 on track. It's a nice, cool May evening, if you will. Not too hot, not too warm, perfect for racing. And we are set, by the way, for 2 50-lap races. Twins, as I mentioned, fixed setup, no change tires, a 16 incident limit with the yellows automatically on with a top 6 invert. That's a lot to just immediately break down, so let's chew through it a little bit here, Terry. Twin 50-lap races, the tires will just start to fall off at the end of each of those.
Yeah, and it's going to come into a factor of the track temp is cold, so you're going to really have to just not manage. You could go as hard as you want. You don't have to sit back, kind of tiptoe around like you do in the NASCAR Xfinity cars or in the Craftsman trucks. You can go out and really make passes. And Langley Speedway, you have two good opportunities to just ship her there in the corner. That bottom lane works. You can go underneath the rumble strips. You can even try to make that outside lane work. We'll see what starts to build rubber in the early portion of this race.
Moving on down the line here on our race details, brought to you by Whiplash Media Sim Cams. Fix setup. These guys are all in the same car, same setup, everything like that, making it very, very close. We're going to see really close racing, I think. It might string out a little bit in the front. Your top 3, maybe even 5 cars might get out and break away. But further on back, we're going to have a lot of side-by-side switching, slide jobs, crossovers, all kinds of stuff in the midfield, especially because we have no change tires. So even if we get cautions and bunch these guys back up, no change tires. That means if you do go burn off your tires, even if you put a second on a guy, if you get a caution, you're brought back to him, and he could very much go right on by you. So it'll be interesting watching that kind of ebb and flow, I think, if we do get any restarts and that kind of change up. With 16 incidents as well, those being pretty much incidents that count how many... I don't know, it's difficult to break down. So you get 1 for an off track, you get 2 for hitting the wall, you get 4 for hitting a car, basically. So you could get 4 X's, 4 car contacts, and be out of the race. So you've got to keep your car clean.
Well, that's all short track racing. But the good part about this is this a ton of talent here. EPI puts a lot of good drivers on the board. We got a lot of great people from iRacing and on the iRacing service that jumped on here, saw that it rained out, couldn't watch good racing here at Langley on Flow Racing this afternoon, and here we sit. It's time to bring it to iRacing. Couple fair weather clouds up there, like you said, no rain on them, sun sitting down, lights are on, man. Let's get racing.
Terry, thanks for joining us this evening. First time having you here at Pit Stop TV as the grid gets ready to go. Now, they will have to, it looks like, manually do their top 6 invert, so it may look a little wonky at first when we roll off of the grid, but let's go ahead and meet your starting grid this evening at Langley Speedway. And again, bear in mind that it seems like the invert got a little bit messed up, so this should be backwards, these first 3 rows, with Blake Thronberg should be starting 6th. Chase Johnson should be starting 5th. But as far as fastest qualifiers, here you go. Blake Thronberg fastest, Chase Johnson second fastest in car 57.83, however you want to look at it. Starting 3rd place, Travis Wall in car 44. Josh Cottle will grid up from the 4th position. Starting 5th is Jacob Harberts, a Langley Champ Kart competitor in car number 80. That'll be exciting to see him go fast this evening here at Langley in a late model. Jacob Derrick, also a, I believe, limited modified competitor at Langley. I know Tyler gave me a bunch of notes on a bunch of different guys. I believe Jacob Derrick is on that list as a Langley modified competitor. Good to see him in the field. Starting 7th, Riley Music, a limited late model guy here at Langley. You see, there's a theme here. These limited guys, these modified guys from Langley, they know how to get around here. They've qualified pretty quick, along with Grant Brown out of the Midwest. Anthony Fowler will start from 9th. Matthew Boniface, a big-time sim racer, is starting 10th.
Maybe go back there to 11th and 12th. You got Tristan McKee and Kyle Turzak. Yeah, 13th, you got Brian Rundstrom and Billy Smith to the outside. Find Philip Mazza and Bailey Hughes in 16th. 17th and 18th is Joshua Osborne and Heather Edwards. And starting shotgun on the field will be Chris Horton.
A big thank you to DJ Powell playing race admin this evening. It's always appreciated in races like this that get put on by EPI or whatever group. It's very nice to have live race control help you through this kind of evening. Thanks for joining us here at Pit Stop TV. It certainly is a pleasure as always. Make sure to follow along on all of our social media platforms all across the land: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Kick, as we get ready to go racing for your first 50-lap race here at Langley Speedway. Green flag is in the air. Let's go racing at Langley. Oh, a car in the air. That's the 7 of McKee. I think it was.
Right there. Yeah,
that was. Yeah.
Yeah, upside down and smoking.
Wow. No fast repair. Tristan McKee might have to wait 49 laps to get back on track. That was a huge, huge hit, and you can see the engine smoking out the rear of the car. He's just about done. The left front looks like it's rolling around. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and luckily the good part about this is, as we take a look at the replay, is the crew's not going to have to jump over the wall and fix this, but he got aggressive early right there into one, took it 3 wide, held the bottom really, really well, washed up a little bit, and then the guy to the outside in the 5, just when he came up the racetrack, the give and take wasn't there yet. He stuck it in there, and unfortunately it didn't pay out. He went upside down over and over, and now he's, on pit road, and he's got to wait 49 more laps before we can get it back on track.
Driver's eye view for somebody you're familiar with here, Tristan McKee, a rising late model star running pro late models this year with the Carolina Pro Late Model Series. Shoved it right to the inside, shipped it in there on Anthony Fowler. It's hard to say if Tristan came up or if Anthony came down, but boy, is that a ride along with the number 7 car. We'll take a look at it from Anthony's perspective and see if we can diagnose this a little more. I really feel like they kind of just met in the middle here, Terry. It's so tough to say, especially lap 1. I think both drivers probably could have played that differently, but the end result is this.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Is so the back end of these cars are a little bit bigger than most would think. So when you see them in person, that back spoiler back there is quite large. And when he comes through there, I would have thought that Anthony Fowler would have backed out just a little bit, kind of saved this spot. You're 3 wide in the middle. You're the meat right there. Maybe Tristan shouldn't have came up a little bit, but they both make contact and then around they go. But luckily for the 95 there, not a whole lot of damage that's going to take him out of contention of this race. He goes sideways, and that's more damage than I thought. I caught the last hit of that replay. That 95 hit the wall a ton. But yeah, really familiar with Tristan. Good driver. I see him every other week at the Carolina Pro Late Model Series, and it's really good to see Elite Performance Industries on a lot of cars around local short track racing. They do a lot for our community.
It's crazy to me. I feel like just yesterday Tristan McKee was still running Bandoleros down at Winter Nationals, Auburndale Speedway, and now he's running full-size late models and really contending for some really solid finishes, if not race wins. I had the lucky privilege to go with Pit Road TV to Orange County to meet you. Of course, that was the headline, but also to play Cam-Op and just watching Tristan around the racetrack. It's like he's been doing this for years. It's crazy. These young kids go straight into full-body cars, and they pick it up quick. We've got a restart coming at us. It's Jacob Derrick, P1, as we are not counting caution laps this evening. And into the restart zone, off and away. We're back green flag at Langley Speedway.
This time into 1, there was no issue, no 3 wide that we could speak of. We're still 2 by 2 all the way throughout this field. Some damage in the back portion here, but good racing so far.
Chase Johnson, a bit of a slide there on lap 2. As well, the 44, Travis Wall, got moved up off the bottom lane pretty quick by Terzak, I think that was, in the 51. Thronberg sitting in tow, and a lot of these guys, this is the big thing at Langley. You've got to just try and fight to the bottom early. It's so tough to hang up top and actually make hay. You've just got to get down to the bottom side of the racetrack. Later on, you can defend a little bit from the top side, but you really just need to fight to the bottom.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of our commenters out there, FedEx Racer, Travis Wallace, the track champion in Pro 6 at Langley. So sitting back there in the 44 in the 7th place position, hung out there on that outside like you talked about. We'll go on board with it as the 14. A Brown's going to look underneath. I'm a big fan of the Piggly Wiggly sponsor. So anybody who's in the Langley area wants to stop at the Pig, you can get them some milk. Man, contact there with the 9. But I'll go get that.
Oh, Josh Osborne.
There goes. Yeah, he's spinning.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, come on.
That was Heather Edwards head on into the nose of the 57 car. Quite late. But sometimes it's hard to lock that car down. We'll, of course, give Heather the benefit of the doubt here as we take a look at what happened to the 57 car. He just got loose. Joshua Osborne.
I think he got help there.
He might have.
I think he got some help there. He had somebody right up under that tailpipe. He was getting shoved. We'll see here.
We'll take a look. It looks like there was just enough space. This is the 42 car of Chris Norton. No, he did not get
he
get
just
into him.
lost it on his own. Oh, wow. That looked really close. Oh, but he got help there.
Definitely got help turning around. That's all Heather was doing, was turning him back around.
Yeah, just, hey, man, you're pointing in the wrong direction. Let's get you pointed back the way you should go.
Here is the onboard with Heather Edwards, and was actually getting the 95 jacked up, and they got back on the throttle just in time to go straight into Osborne in the 57 car. That was a big hit for those guys on the front stretch, and it does look like Edwards will continue, albeit, of course, with plenty of damage on the nose of that 02 car. However, in the case of Joshua Osborne, down to the pit lane and trying to find the pit exit cone, does so eventually. I think Josh might have thought there was a fast repair, realized pretty quickly there was not, got back on the racetrack.
Maybe want to go down there and see if he had any required that he had to get fixed there as well. Probably stopped in the pit box. It didn't look like a whole lot of damage there. It looked bigger, but that was a weird sequence that kind of happened there. It looked like got turned, didn't, just lost it on their own. And that's one of the key points here. When you're in the developmental portion of iRacing and you're racing at Langley, whether it be in the Legends car, whether it be you started racing the late model stock here, and then now with the Cars Tour late model stock that came out, if you run the apron, when you get on the throttle, you have to time it so perfectly. It's like one of those billboards you have to use as the reference point, when to start mashing it. And you can't just quickly hit it because it just spins the rear tires. You have to be very gentle with it. Right there, wasn't very gentle and just lost it.
Now, of course, we are taking it to iRacing this evening because Langley Speedway rained down. We always hate that R word in racing, but of course you can follow along with everything Langley Speedway does on social media and watch their usual program on Flow Racing. We certainly recommend that you do so. And Terry, one of our drivers in the field, Tristan McKee, you got to watch him over on pitrow.tv with the Carolina Pro Late Model Series. You also need to watch Grant Brown, who runs up in the Midwest, the Tundra Late Model Series, I believe. I know Tony Stevens puts a lot of effort into those broadcasts.
Yeah, we do.
I'd have to collect a little more info just to point everybody in the perfectly correct direction, but Pit Row TV has got a lot of racing going on. Grant Brown and Tristan McKee both can be found in races on Pit Row. Here we go, green flag back in the air, lap 8 begins, and side by side, Josh Cottle, Chase Johnson around in front of the field.
Oh, and that one's going to pile up 2 cars, and we'll stay under the green flag. We're piling up more in the back. People checking up, not realizing the checkup was happening. And around they go, but it all triggered with this car right here. Looked like maybe just a little bit of help on the nose of somebody else. Take a look at that replay on Pit Stop TV.
Here's an onboard for Jacob Harberts, Champ Kart competitor here. Gets a tap, it looks like, from Thronberg eventually, but of course you saw Chase Johnson on the live feed getting all kinds of jacked up. So we got to really figure out what happened to Johnson in the 37 car as we'll take a look back. So Chase Johnson, that blue and white and pink numbered 57, gets a tap from the 47, and wow. Cars scattering, Harbert's in the grass. And eventually Boniface gets turned around here by the 88 car of Brian Runstrom. Not quite Rodney Sandstorm. Not quite.
Not quite Rodney Sandstorm, but it would be fun. But that's just a weird. That's just a weird spot that we see there, because it's everybody trying to check up, trying to move out of the way, and this place being so small and so narrow, it's really hard to figure it out.
Riley Music just, and I do mean just, nudged the 57 to turn him around. Riley really did nothing wrong. I'd be willing to say, I'd be willing to say Riley does nothing wrong here. Just got staggered, was trying to get down along the 80's door, got into the 80 even, and just ever so slightly got into Chase Johnson, and they stacked up big time. That is short track racing, quite frankly.
I mean, that is exactly what personifies short track racing. At the end of the day, people beating and banging and uprooting them off the bottom, it happens. But here's the good part about this. We have another race behind it. So these drivers can wait 42 more laps if they get knocked out. They can go out here and beat and bang because that second race of the Twin 50s starts right after that last one. So we ought to have a good time here.
Yeah, and unlike your local short track in real life, they don't have to work on the car between races. They get a brand new car to go out there for race number 2 and go after it again. And eventually, I think we've got to consider a time limit. Eventually, these guys will run out of time in the session, even if it's set to 2 hours. Eventually, you'll hit that time limit. So if we keep hitting these yellows after one lap, one corner sometimes, we could really stack up the time. They just got to be careful, I think, on these opening couple of laps, get into a rhythm. It's difficult to do here at Langley, but it is possible. We'll see if they can do it this time as we get through the restart zone and get back green flag. Derek out front, Cottle second, Thronberg to the inside in third.
Yeah, you still see side-by-side racing. They're using that bottom lane, that outside lane like we talked about a little earlier. You have to get the run off the exit and get yourself to the bottom. As you see door banging there off the exit at 51, a turn. I'm just going to say K. The 51 went right into the door there because I'm going to screw that name up again.
Good old Kyle Turzak. Oh boy, it's a night here, that's for sure. At Pit Stop TV, as the 42 got all jacked up, that was Chris Horton. As Kyle and Travis Wall door bang down the front stretch here at Langley, a little closer that time out of turn 2, and they get away from each other by turn 3. And Turzak is headed the wrong direction. The freight train to nowhere has definitely taken off.
Yeah, he's very slideways. You see it there. Every time he tries to get back in the throttle, he's having to check up. As that time he makes contact with the 9 machine, just ever so slightly. He's hanging on for dear life here on that outside lane.
It's interesting to me to see a Cameron Bolin machine making passes here at Langley. I don't think he's run Langley before, but it is cool to see Bolin's paint scheme from the Cars Late Model Stock Tour. Solid Rock Carriers Cars Late Model Stock Tour, I should say, on the sim as Turzak slides in behind Mazzola. Philip Mazzola in car 9. Heather Edwards backward to the front stretch, and the 57 of Osborne is the new one rolling. The Penrose 57 barrel rolling down the front stretch.
Yeah, we take a look at this replay, and it's pretty self-explanatory of what happens here. Two cars go into the corner, make contact. A 3 over corrects it in the corner. Very easy to do here in these cars. And up and over the 57 goes, and unfortunately, he's just an innocent bystander at this moment. You look at the onboard here, just 2 cars making contact. Heather goes wide, bam, and then couldn't get low enough, had a car underneath. He goes up and over, but it's a tough break. He was up front there for a little bit, and then he just around he goes again.
Heather Edwards got hit by the 47, then came up into the 3 car to turn 3, and then they're just all over the place by turn 4. Boniface got a piece of it, just kind of came in and said hello, and then drove off and away, as Bailey Hughes was another driver involved in that. Crew member for Ryan Matthews at Langley Speedway. Ryan Matthews, of course, a former track champion here at Langley and at Dominion Raceway as well. We have 14 laps in the books once we go back green flag racing. And Terry, I know it's slow moving a little bit because we're not counting these caution laps, but this also means we're saving opportunities for these guys to get racing once they do get it figured out. And it's tough. Here at Langley especially, this is not an easy racetrack to pass at, not an easy racetrack to do anything at. It's got so little banking, it's so tight, it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely correct. And I think you know just as well as I do that while it sucks not being at the racetrack, when we come to iRacing, you know, we have the magic power of building cameras, so we can just put a camera anywhere we want them to go. We don't have to stand in a certain spot and shoot the camera or stand in a certain spot to look at the monitor. I'm sitting in a very comfortable chair right here with my own headset on. I don't have to, hold a microphone or anything crazy, but this is just a wonderful racetrack. I don't think I can state that enough, how beautiful Langley is. My wife's from Virginia. This is one of the places that she grew up watching. I've always wanted to come here and call a race. I'm glad that we have it on iRacing to get familiarized with it. What a job that EPI does putting shows on Saturday nights, Monday nights. They put on some of the best racing possible. And they're just a really good setup shop. It's why I personally use EPI any chance that I run an open race.
I'm glad you mentioned our Monday evening commitments, we do have the iRacing Cars Late Model Stock Tour brought to you on Pit Stop TV by RaceEPI.com, powered by the shop. They are heading to New Smyrna Speedway this Monday evening. We'll talk more about that in a little bit as we get ready for a lap 15 restart. Into the restart zone, green flag once again, and wow, Jacob Derrick clear of Thronberg already by turn 1 at turn in. Josh Cottle gets on by Grant Brown, but that is not over for the 4th position. Travis Wall's still there. Now they get single file back to 6th place. Call it 7th, call it 8th. They got single file quick.
Yeah, I think this is where we're going to see the flow of this race start to pick up. You'll see single file throughout. You talked about it earlier in the race details that the back half of this field will be racy, but the front half will make educated moves as they go. You take a look right there with Brown trying to hold on to that 4th place position as he has Wall right behind him, Cottle right in front. Can we see these drivers start to uproot them like they would here at Langley in real life?
This is the thing I love about short track racing on iRacing specifically. You mentioned camera angles and how we can put them wherever we want them with Whiplash sim cams. Well, we've got some beautiful onboard cameras that really show you what it's like to get around here in case you've never been able to do so, in case you've never been able to go to the racetrack and see some of the sight lines yourself. The onboard cameras on these late model stock cars that you don't usually see at all, it gives you such a cool perspective here on iRacing.com as we're on board with Josh Cottle in the 3rd position, chasing down Blake Thronberg and Jacob Derrick, leading this race. And you can see Cottle, he's way down on the apron, the flat that's even flatter than the corners here. He's trying to use that to de-wedge the car and help it hook around the bottom side, and it's working beautifully. Cottle working that yellow line to perfection right now. You can see the effect it has every time it gets back to throttle. It really helps that car turn around.
Yeah, everybody else is fishing in a different pond. He's down there in the Chattahoochee. He's trying to get all the way to the grass there. But it's the perfect analogy when it comes to this racetrack, though. You want that car to settle. You want it to rotate. If your car's not handling good on the track itself, take it below there a little bit. Let that back end get a little sideways. Get the front to turn better. There's a lot of things you can do in a fixed setup race. Utilize the track around you. Put your tires on the rumble strip. Let the car do the work. You just have to put it in a position for it to work. I mean, you see the battle right here. The 14 of Brown, Wall still hounding him here for that position. Just waiting on that driver to make a mistake. And right at the moment, no mistakes to be found.
You know, NASCAR is at Darlington this weekend, and that, of course, is, I think, the top driver racetrack in NASCAR. We've got a caution on the speedway. Anthony Fowler out on the front stretch. I think Darlington is the best driver racetrack in NASCAR. I definitely think Langley is one of the best driver racetracks in short track racing. It forces the driver to look at a lot of places they wouldn't otherwise look in a lot of ways they wouldn't otherwise for speed and little things they can do on entry, on exit, in the center of the corner just to find something. As we had contact back here with Fowler and Harbards for the, I want to say, about the 10th position nearly. It's down here in turns 3 and 4. Harbards in deep. I mentioned looking for speed. I think he might have been looking a little too low there on the 5 car.
Yeah, that's not necessarily the position you want to put yourself in. You're just down there. You're looking for it, but you have to hit the brake a little bit here. You can't just send it in there when somebody's in front of you. There just hooks them. I mean, that's as blatant as you can get. Just turned him down the front. Luckily, just saved it. You know, came to a complete stop. Didn't have anything crazy go on. Didn't catch that wall. That was a very impressive save, by the way, because you don't have very much wiggle room here. You're going to hit the wall regardless, and he did.
Yeah, Harbards just got in there deep. He was just, I think, looking for a little too much, and he might have had. We'll take one more look at it here and try to give Jacob a little more benefit of the doubt. He was racing to the inside of the 5, even at a turn 2. You could argue maybe he was owed some room on some overlap, but the lunge, I think, into the corner is what says to me that's really, I think, a spot where, especially before halfway, it's maybe a little more wise to back out, give it another corner, maybe even a couple more laps. I know it feels like it's taking forever, but I go back to what I mentioned in my open. The art of passing here is very difficult. It's one of the hardest racetracks in all short track racing, I'd say, to pass cleanly at, and you saw it there.
Yeah, I mean, I'd put this right up here with the Hickory, or put it up here with the Orange County, even an Auburndale. I mean, Auburndale's got a race for the SRL Sportsman going on right now, and that is one of the toughest place when you're shooting as a camera person or if you're up there watching it in the stands, where if you see a driver go into turn one, they're going to have to make some contact to uproot you off that bottom. There's no outside lane to speak of. And if it is, it takes a while to work in. That's what this place reminds me of. It reminds me of an old Bristol. You talked about Darlington. I'll take Bristol in it, where the bottom lane is dominant. Early 90s, early 2000s. If you got off the bottom at Bristol, well, you were going to the back. Now you can ride the outside, you can ride the bottom, high lane's dominant. You ain't doing that at Langley. Get to that outside lane and you're done.
Well, it's coming up here at Langley Speedway very, very soon. Hampton Heat, July 23rd. It's the middle leg of the Virginia Triple Crown with late model racing. Do not miss it. Check out Langley-speedway.com/Hampton-Heat for more information as we take lap 25. Thronberg straight to the inside in front of Cottle, who cut him some slack there. EPI teammates working together in positions 2 and 3, trying to stay ahead of Grant Brown, who's got Travis Wall to his inside.
Yeah, teammates always find a way to work with each other. More contacts made, slides in the corner. What car control to hold on to that there. It's a really good job from the 44 of Wall to not slap Brown up into the outside wall and wreck the competition behind him. We're still green. We just crossed the halfway point.
Oh, man. Brown gets doored right there up the racetrack by the 9 of Mazzola, and he is just getting bullied on this restart. We mentioned it earlier from the get-go. You've got to get down to the inside here at Langley. Otherwise, you're on that freight train to nowhere, and Grant Brown certainly has found his seat and is on board for a 7-hour journey or so, at least it feels like, for car 14. I will say, by the way, this is one of the most beautiful late model paint schemes I've ever seen on iRacing. A big shout-out to everything Grant Brown does at Patriot Media Services as he gets in line there ahead of Terzak and behind the 47 of Riley Music. Good to see Music getting back forward, by the way. A limited late model driver here at Langley, up to P7 and moving back forwards as he's got a big time gaggle between these two right in front of him, Mazzola and Horton.
Yeah, big gaggle in front, but you have to wait for them to make a mistake. Riley Music knows that. He knows what it takes to make a pass around here. It takes the drivers in front to make the mistake. It also takes patience. You currently see that on board as we look behind him. A bit here. Oh, I
saw that coming.
Yeah, and that was not his fault either. The 14, I think the 14 got help from behind. That was a chain reaction push. It just went all the way up.
I saw it coming. That's why we went to that camera with Riley Music. They got stacked up ever so slightly ahead of Riley, and he checked up in the middle of the corner. The smallest amount. He probably just breathed the throttle ever so slightly, and it's difficult when you're the third, fourth car in line in the case of Grant Brown in this instance to give that room. Even when you're staggered like they were, you can see there's not much to see. You don't see that checkup developing, and boy is it hard to stay out of the back of the car in front of you.
Yeah, you're in a blink of an eye, and that's also what the late model series is about, right? It's that development to get you into the progression of stock car racing, to get you in one of these. The grip level's not there. You actually have to drive these things. Well, that teaches you at that very moment that, well, the checkups are going to happen, and you have to be alert. You have to be aware of it. It's a little bit more room on these for these drivers who are either coming out of bandoleros, they're coming out of carts. Thomas Annunziata came out of road racing, and he's racing in the Carolina Pro Late Model Series on a part-time basis. It's a big transition from a lot of different cars to put yourself in one of these, and, well, even on iRacing, it's a bit of a learning curve.
A little bit of, I guess, short track racing dialogue in general. Wouldn't it be nice to get a pro late model, I guess, variant of the super late model and a limited late model variant of this late model stock? We've got two very current cars now, look fantastic, drive great. Wouldn't it be nice to get those two engine variants with the smaller motors for the pro and limited?
I would love to see a 602 limited late model come out here and run it. I actually talked to Keith Graham, who's the owner of the Carolina Pro Late Model Series. I said, man, how cool would it be to put one of those cars on iRacing to be able to run a league with it. It's the same thing with what we have here with the Car Store. We're able to run leagues with the Car Store model that came from Carson Quaffel's race car that he won the championship with. It'd be nice to see all the variants that's around there at these local short tracks, and I think we need more short tracks on iRacing.
Yeah.
I'd love to see a lot of these racetracks that are out there, like Florence Motor Speedway. That'd be a very good one to have on the sim. I actually asked Dale Jr. when was we going to get more. What are the damn? I already lost the thing. The dirt jump ones. If we can get more off-road tracks on here, we need more tracks on the service that showcases the skills of these drivers.
We really need more rallycross content here on the sim. Got a green flag coming, lap 32, beginning now with Jacob Derrick out front. Cottle that time, not playing the teammate restart with Thronberg. It's going to take a little bit of extra work for the 22 car to get in line as the 13 is down to his inside. Cottle going to take position number 2 away. Thronberg going to have to work for it as here comes Mazzola to the inside, and now Mazzola falls back.
Yeah, with under 20 to go, your teammate rules go out the window. You're not given any extra inches here. They really haven't been given a whole lot here tonight as it is.
No!
Oh, he's going around.
They save it.
No caution.
Wow, Thronberg, what a job hanging under it. Well, look at the gaggle behind him, 3 wide into turns 1 and 2. That is Boniface way up top in the red 95. Now they're spinning. There goes Travis Wall around. Riley Music tagged him. And, oh, the 57. Wow. They're still hitting each other. They are not done.
No, they're not done at all. That was what should have been 5 wrecks in 1 wreck. And it all started from the check up there with the 22 and the 9, with them going around, almost going around. All right, here. And then it just bottlenecks this field all the way back. And then we just see everybody else starting to make contact and going around.
See Grant Brown way to the inside of Jacob Harberts. Further back, watch Riley Music in the 47 right there. Just gets into Travis Wall. Nothing either one of those two did wrong as Osborne threw it into the fence to try and miss it. Then comes down and gets Music for good measure. And they made some extra contact there through turn 4. What a tough spot to be in if you're Riley Music in all of this.
And what the crazy part is we haven't talked about it since the opening, but we could be reaching the incident limit for a lot of these drivers.
Yeah.
16X, we've seen a lot of car contact. The 2Xs that could be of whatever the contact was, that was easily a 4X. That was 2 contacts in 1.
And that could have been an extra contact. 4X.
That's an extra 4X potentially. And then they make contact again very slightly right there. Could have been another 2X. You saw the 57 catch the wall, had to jump up when he went to go miss the outside lane. The only, I would say, 2 people that probably don't have any X's right here are 2 leaders. The 88 and the 13 probably have none, but the rest of the field, you could imagine, we're starting to creep into the 10 to 12. They're up there.
Yeah, if we go back to your race details, third line in. 16 incident limit, of course, yellow's on, which we've seen plenty of those in this first race. But the 16 incident limit, that's the big part. For the most part, I think rule of thumb, it might vary situation to situation, but for the most part, every bit of car contact you see will be a 4X. Now, iRacing does have a cooldown. You can't just hit somebody twice in 1 second or twice in 2 seconds or whatever and get 2 4Xs. That would be pretty punishing. That would be 8X all of a sudden just from one small incident. But you get a little bit of a grace period. You get probably, I'd say 4 seconds, that sound right? 4 to 6 seconds, something like that of a cooldown, maybe even longer before another 4X registers. And at the same time, if you have light contact that would initially register as a 0X, but that car goes to spin and get hit more and get a 4X, then that initial car that made that 0X contact would then be given a 4X as well. So you've got to be careful. You get some leniency, but eventually it still comes up and catches you at some point, as we got 16 laps to go. And entering the restart zone here in a moment. The iRacing.com safety car back to the safety of pit lane. Waiting on the green flag to fly. We're back at it here at Langley. 16 to go. Incident counts looming.
Yeah, I mean, we're coming under there with 15 laps to go here. You see side by side, can Cotto get the outside lane to work? Don't think that he's going to be able to unless he pinches down. They complete the first lap, and Well, it's all clean and green now as here comes the 9 of Mazzola.
Mazzola, contact there. The 9 going to catch it. The Cameron Bolin paint scheme slides into turn 3, runs the 13 up the racetrack. And hello, Jacob Harberts. He's back in the top 5 in position 4. Mazzola is still trying to hang on to his machine as he runs the 13 back up the racetrack one more time. Harberts now to the back end of the 9 car. What can he do as he fires the inside of Cottle? The 80 has suddenly shown back up and I think is showing his Langley Speedway prowess. He's going to now nose ahead for 3rd position down the backstretch, ahead of Josh Cottle by just the slightest of margins. He's bringing Thronberg.
Yeah, Thronberg's going to be able to put it in there right next to his teammate of Cottle. They'll go side by side into turn number 1. You just go ahead and just give that position up because the only way you have an opening is now. So he has to get down in here in front of Fowler in the 5, who's been in a couple incidents this afternoon. We go on board here with that 13. Now we go to the back into the race leader. He stretched it to a 1.1 second lead. Derek over Mazzola. The 9, I don't think has the speed. He's been in a couple incidents here. Can the 80 of Harberts get around him really quick?
I will say, some of the passing has been on point from Mazzola, even if it's been a bit physical. Clearly, it's worked. He's up to 2nd position with 10 laps to go, and that doesn't just happen by accident as Harberts takes a look to the inside. Going to have to be careful between these two. Mazzola, I think, is just a little bit off pace with that damage, and clearly Harberts wants to move to the inside. That time, Spotter said inside of the 9 car, and he gave room through 1 and 2, and you can see here comes the 80 of Jacob Harberts. He has definitely got more pace right now.
Yeah, that he does. There's a ton of pace here. And we'll see if that pace actually stays true as the 80 does clear. Here comes the 22 of Thornburg. He's going to put himself side by side with the
no!
Oh, he was not clear. Into the wall he goes and hard into turn 3. Luckily was able to salvage just a little bit, was on the brakes. That was a hard hit, but not a whole lot of damage here to this solid Rock Carrier Cars Tour late model.
It does look better than I thought it would, and it certainly looks better than it would if it was a real car, but let's take a look back at it. I really thought this was going to be far, far worse for Thronberg. Hooked into the outside wall. I'd be hard-pressed to blame either driver. They're racing. It's inside of 10 to go. Quite frankly, if you get down to the nitty-gritty of trying to blame guys over inches, you're just never going to have a good time. That's just these guys racing hard for a race win or whatever they can get behind the race winner.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would cut anybody off. I know my mom's probably watching. I would chop her nose for a win or a shot at the win. I'd probably wreck her for the win, too. That's just being honest. You see here, I don't think that he thought for 1 second that the 9 was going to be able to hold it up there on the outside. He already lost the 2nd place position. And I don't even think the 22 came up. I think the 9 came down in that instance. So you really can't put fault on either one of them. It's just a tune of hard racing. You come off that corner, you have to try to use as much of the racetrack. And sometimes you got to be the bully. And it looked like right there, the 9 was a little bit of the bully.
Yeah, I don't think either driver did anything wrong. Quite frankly, these guys are just trying to race for everything they can get. Mazzola might have stayed a little further off the wall than maybe the 22 of Thronberg was expecting. And I think Thronberg maybe could have cut the throttle a little bit on exit, probably stayed a little bit lower on the racetrack. That's short track racing. We're going to say it again. We're probably going to say it 2 or 3 more times after this. That is short track racing. Unfortunately, in some cases, fortunately in others, that's just how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I'm glad it wasn't real life because that would have been a really tough hit.
Yeah,
especially to the driver's side in turn 3. But at the end of the day, this is for fun. 100% payout for the buy-in that was put in this afternoon. So these drivers are racing for a little bit of cash and a lot of fun. I think at the end of the day, the fun factor is what gets counted in here. And you know how people can have fun, Andrew.
How's that?
iRacing.com to start their portal to the ticket, or to their ticket to the iRacing portals at iRacing.com. I messed up my own promo. 40% off new users, and they could race Langley Speedway, and they could race this car with the C license. Absolutely,
and we cover those official races here on Pit Stop TV, brought to you by Elite Performance Industries. As I think we're about to get a restart, a very much misformed field that might come back. But we are green flag, it looks like, on lap 44 now, as we've got 7 to go, and Harberts was on the outside. He's going to give that spot right back up to Mazzola. I think they were trying to go single file for the green. They didn't quite coordinate that, but hey, it all works out. 6 to go.
Yeah, I mean, if it works, it works. And for the 9, it worked. I just don't see, once again, if the 9's going to be able to go up there and catch that 1. He's been the class of the field all race long. There's been nobody touching him. But can the 80 get around him again? As I say, he's the class of the field. He puts a 15.418 on the board. New fastest lap. And, well, he was the one that set the fastest lap the last time.
Yeah, you can see clean, clear, smooth sailing for Jacob Derrick out front. 4 laps to go the last time by. We'll call it 3 this time as Mazzola has got trouble from Harberts and Cottle. Hot on his tail. 3 laps to go here at Langley Speedway. Anthony Fowler into the top 5. And I think we've seen some of these incident limits catch up with these guys. Chris Horton, Matthew Motiface, Grant Brown out of the race. Joshua Osborne back on track. Kyle Turzak out. Billy Smith out. Brian Rundstrom out. Bailey Hughes out.
A lot of drivers out of this race so far, and we have 8 drivers that have an opportunity to win this if all heck breaks loose and we're coming to the white flag. So we're going to need the 1 to have catastrophic incidents.
White flag is out, presented by Whiplash SimCams. I said it a million times again. Got it a little jumbled there, but one final time through turns 3 and 4 for the race leader, Jacob Derrick. Into turns 3 and 4 for second. A little bit of contact there. To the line they go. And Derrick goes to victory lane. Mazzola second. Harberts couldn't quite get it for second. He will finish third by just about 1/100th and a half. As Jacob Derrick had that one wrapped up for a long, long time. Goes to victory lane with, I believe, all 50. Well, I think it was all 50 laps. I think those 42 are lowered because of not counting caution laps. Jacob Derrick was out front all race long and never, ever looked back.
Yeah, I'm almost positive he was never passed. At any point of this race, was that one machine passed on the racetrack? He definitely is the fastest person. I mean, in any instance, as we're taking a look at the replay. Well, I thought we were taking a look at the replay there for a second.
Well, we'll take a look at the race results first up, as we might have. You know, I'll be honest, I'm surprised that we aren't already into, I think it's going to be separate sessions, so we might have a little bit of a wait between races. But anyhow, here's a look at your race results from race number 1. And I got to be honest, I am oh so impressed you were Jacob Derrick. Didn't really have an idea of how this guy was going to do, or anybody else really for that matter, but dominated this race. Led every single lap, we do believe. I know it only says 42, but that happens sometimes with these no caution lap counted races on iRacing. He wasn't ever passed. Actually, you know what? It might be that he started 6th. They inverted.
He did start 6th. Yeah, we inverted him.
Anyways, he was good. He won the race. That's what matters. Philip Mazzola goes second place. Really impressed there as well. Philip had to drive through the field a time or two up into the second spot. Jacob Harberts will finish third. Josh Cottle fourth. Anthony Fowler rounds out your top 5. I think a lot of comeback stories for guys back here in the rest of the top 10. Riley Music, Travis Wall, Blake Thronberg, even after that massive contact, was able to hang on to the lead lap, at least not lose a lap in all of that, as Chase Johnson and Joshua Osborne round out your top 10 a few laps down.
And then we get into the used car lot here. This is the drivers 13 and more down. Matthew Boniface, Grant Brown, Chris Horton, Kyle Turzak, Billy Smith, Bailey Hughes. Heather Edwards was involved in a ton. Tristan McKee was up and over on lap 1. Brian Rundstrom had a good. Rundstrom had a bit of issue, and DJ Powell is our race control guy, so he just never started.
I think at some point he
contact of them all.
Well, you know, if we want to give him pace car lap sled, would that work?
Technically, he led the most laps.
It was a rough one here for our first go of things in our 50-lap twins, 8 cautions. We did have, again, 12 lead changes. I don't think that's correct. just a small little part of racing without caution laps being counted on iRacing. Sometimes it scores different cars at the line as the race winner. But, Terry, that was a good start to the evening. Let's bring in Jacob Derrick, who wins this one after 50 laps of racing. And, Jacob, I know it wasn't quite the night we wanted as far as going to the real track, having a nice show with some hot dogs and whatnot down by the beach. But iRacing, of course, has Langley Speedway, has a late model stock car. We made some fun out of it, and you led every single lap, it felt like, if not every single lap in that race en route to victory. How'd you do it?
It just took a lot of saving and just a lot how the cards played out. Like, I knew Josh was way faster than me. I killed my stuff early on. I was just hoping Phillip could fill the hole, and he did, and that let me drive away, so it helped a lot.
And it was not easy going, and a lot of those restarts were hotly contested, but you did have the advantage of the restart zone. How much of a deal is that as the race leader to be able to fire when you want to?
Oh, it's a big deal. It's mind games. It's a lot. It messes with their heads and everything.
And of course, the attrition was big time in that first race. We still have one more on the card. How do you feel from that one?
I feel pretty confident the way we ran that one. I just got to save my stuff more this time because I know what happens. Just got to save.
Save is the name of the game. Well, Jacob, best of luck to you. Car 88 was on rails that first time through. I'm sure it will be again in race number 2.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Jacob Derrick winning this evening and taking home some cash already from race number 1. And Terry, that means we've got to get over to the next session, but that was a fun one to get started.
It was absolutely perfect. I mean, yeah, we had some cautions, but you know what? Big deal. We had caution flags. You know, they happen in short track racing, and now here we sit. We got awesome sponsors that come down here. OBS, what we use, sim cams with Whiplash Media, ATVO. We got the audio by Infriction, and then obviously my favorite one, iRacing. Obviously, I'm a big fan of iRacing. You can catch the Coca-Cola iRacing series May 16th on the eNASCAR.live. You can also catch the college series. Hopefully, we can get them to get the fall semester for the eNASCAR College Series to take off. We can continue that awesome ride here and give out some scholarship money.
I love that you take what's on the screen, roll with it. Yeah, these are our resources, or those we work with, or those we use their programs of. In the case of ATVO and OBS, of course, we have music provided by InAudio, by Infraction. Cameras on the broadcast brought to you by Whiplash Media Sim Cams, and of course we use iRacing.com for the sim. I do want to quickly mention the upcoming broadcast here on Pit Stop TV, just in case you tune out after that first race. We certainly don't want you to, but in case you do, here's what we have upcoming the rest of this week, or I guess the new week coming that's beginning tomorrow, Monday, however you want to look at it. Monday evening, New Smyrna Speedway with iRacing Cars Late Model Stock Tour action from way down in Florida. That's going to be a lot of fun. I believe 50 laps the race distance for that race. That is an official series, by the way. Open setup. First race of the week, the SOF split. That's going to be a lot of fun. Top split, we usually have guys like Ryan Kuhn, Alex McCullum, Jacob Harberts, and Josh Cottle in that race, among others. Blake Thronberg is often in that split as well. Kyle Terzak even. So a lot of these guys, in fact, that were in this race will likely be in that race on Monday evening that we'll be covering. And then Tuesday, we've got the D-Line Racing League brought to you by Elevated Performance, taking off for race number 2 from USA International Speedway, also down in Florida with late model stock cars. So we got a theme going on Monday and Tuesday. Before Sunday, we head out to Long Beach with the Sim Pit Radical Series. That'll be kind of like a predecessor to the NASCAR All-Star Race later that day on May 21st, 1:30 Eastern. You got to make that one. That's going to be a lot of fun. I believe round 7 for those Radical SR raids. And of course, you can follow us along on social media. We're going to go get in the next session because I'm sure that's firing off soon. We'll see you all in just a moment. Welcome back to the virtual Langley Speedway. High and up in the sky was the sun for this B-roll, but we have lights turned on fully. We are in the darkness here in the sim. Terry Radford, glad to have you joining me this evening on the mic. Good to have you here at Pit Stop TV for this show, and hopefully many more to come. This has been an interesting one, certainly, to get the night going. That first 50-lap race, we'll be honest, had a few cautions. I think 8 was the number at the end of it. It definitely, I think, took a few of these guys by surprise, but that also tells these guys maybe to mind the back bumpers of the driver ahead of them just a little bit more. Remember, these noses on these cars, they go out quite a ways. You got to be careful, especially at the low and slow speeds here at the Langley Speedway. It's a tricky one to get around, and it's not very long, Straightaways, it's tricky.
Yeah, 8 cautions is what we saw around there, and that's typical, right? For drivers who are getting used to this. They're not used to each other. This is actually just a lobby that we put up for these drivers to come into. So they don't know the driver to their left and right. They don't know the driver that was behind them or in front of them, so they don't know where their braking mark is. They don't know where their race line and what their craft is here, but we have them on track again for another 50 laps for the drivers who paid to come back in here. Tristan McKee's back. He wrecked very early in that first portion. Heather wrecked very early. Grant Brown had a decent run there. Was able to finish up in the top half of the field. We saw a lot of that wrecking. There's your race winner. Maybe going to do it again. It's going to be interesting to see how these next 50 laps go.
Got to look at Riley Music, Chase Johnson. How about Blake Thronberg from race EPI? Bailey Hughes is back here for race number 2. It was definitely a tough first one for some drivers. For other drivers, it was a little easier. That's how it goes. We've said it multiple times in that first race. That is short track racing. That is just a part of it. As you take a look at Josh Cottle, who was on track, 10th quick in this short practice session. We've got qualifying coming up shortly after. Let's take a look as these guys finish up this session at the weather conditions in sim. 75.6 degrees in the air, 80-degree track temp, and suddenly it's got a bit overcast. So the conditions have changed quite a bit from race 1 to race 2.
Well, and the good part about it is while the conditions have changed on the racetrack, a lot of these drivers, it's still virtually the exact same. So the track temp was like 77. That 1 or 2 degrees that it fell is not going to make a whole lot of a change of how they get into the corner, how they exit the corner. Throttle control is still a big key here. You see one through the grass there. It's a new way to take the corners here at Langley. It's a good bit of jumps down here that you could potentially take for some rally cross off-road racing.
I think that was Grant Brown down through the grass, and he's a guy out of the Midwest. Of course, the Midwest has a lot of dirt racing. Maybe he was just trying to find a dirt line. I would like to see a Langley Speedway in dirt. I know we've done it to Lanier and USA on the sim. I doubt it happens, but I would like to see that. I think this would be a very interesting dirt track. Very, very flat, as you can see. That's the corner, and there's no camera trickery going on. That's just how it looks as we quickly flash through the qualifying stage there, and we should have a 6-car invert. And I think... Well, might have to let these drivers kind of do it themselves once more, because Jacob Harberts, we'll at least go through the grid as the lineup of drivers we've got, even if they're a little bit out of order. But Jacob Harberts is set to start from first. Josh Cottle from second. Starting third would be Jacob Derrick, but of course he should be starting sixth. So I think these drivers will have to do a little bit of work on the formation laps to get in line. But we can at least go through them as a driver roster, Terry. As you see, Blake Thronberg in the 22 car was very fast in race 1. Kyle Turzak in the 51 as well. A very notable entry. Matthew Boniface there in 6th. Along down through the rest of your top 10. Chase Johnson, Travis Wall, Tristan McKee, and Chris Horton.
Yeah, we go back there to the 11th place position with DJ Powell. It's another name that's being added with Grant Brown to the outside. Got Bailey Hughes and Riley Music, 13th, 14th. I'm going to find Brian Runstrom and Billy Smith. Heather Edwards and Philip Malsla. I said that name wrong again. Joshua Osborne and Anthony Fowler rounds out the 20 drivers.
And yeah, I think we're a little bit out of order, but that's okay. These guys will get lined up, I'm sure, or they'll just let it roll as is, as we had a plan. And well, now some cars are escaping. Well, this is part of it sometimes. If you trust technology a little too much, that is sometimes the effect. As now, one car was rolling, that was Tristan McKee. We might be entering a holding pattern. I didn't think we'd have a seemingly rain delay on a race to get around the rain where we take it to iRacing, but it seems like there was an error setting up the session here, Terry, and, well, Travis Wall is going for a ride on the wall.
Yeah, red flag to the red flag. There's a red flag over Langley Speedway in real life. There's a red flag virtually as well. Normally you see a red flag if the power bill doesn't get paid in iRacing and we shut the lights off. But I think there was an issue here where maybe the race control did not get in the server to clear black flags. I didn't see the race control on
well, that would have been
actual...
DJ Powell.
Yeah. And then something crazy must have happened, or maybe we didn't get the right amount of drivers in, or maybe something was wrong with the server.
I'm unsure. I really wish we had more to go off of. I guess we'll wait answer from the big man here with EPI events, Tyler Payne. But you know what we can do here is we can talk about what we do on Monday evenings with EPI and these late models specifically. We have a wonderful series that happens officially on iRacing.com. Just by being an iRacing member, you can take part in this series so long as you get up to a C-Class license and have the cars and tracks to go racing. So let's take a look at the schedule for the iRacing Cars Late Model Stock Tour. We opened things up at South Boston way back on March 13th and have since gone through the schedule you see on your screen, including Langley at Race 5. It's been so compelling to follow the points battle between Ryan Kuhn and Alex McCullum. Next up, in just a couple of days, we go to New Smyrna Speedway. And that, I think, is only going to be another addition to this long, long season of more and more compelling action and storylines, especially for the points lead, as we go to New Smyrna, Nashville, and Lakeland. 3 really fast and larger racetracks as well for these late models. It's going to be a doozy for sure.
Yeah, the Nashville Fairgrounds from my backyard. I currently live in Savannah, Georgia, but I grew up within seconds of the fairgrounds out there, and I'd love to see them revamp that place and bring the NASCAR Cup Series, just NASCAR in general, just bring some form of NASCAR back out there and silence those crybabies that live around that racetrack that say, you got to muffle them down a little bit. No, don't move near a racetrack if you don't like it. But yeah, these are wonderful. Another thing we could allude to while we're here, obviously, EPI puts this series on, is putting this on as well, that we're going to be showing here for the Twin 50's, but great setups. They power Michael Conti in the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. 2 wins on the season over there in that portion. A lot of great people, from Tyler Payne to Conti to all the wonderful people that are at EPI. Some of the best setups on iRacing. They always care about the community, and it's always community first with them, and that's what really makes them a very special entity.
Yeah, I'm definitely very much privileged to work closely with Tyler Payne and everybody at Performance Industries, powered by the shop. And we do have a lot of racing, it feels like, each season. As you can see the website there on your screen, www.raceepi.com. It's such a pleasure to work with these guys and get to know a lot more of them as seasons go on, seasons fly by, and just get to know more people on iRacing in general. And that's the big thing I think that Tyler Payne loves to push, is the fact that we have competing setup shops in these EPI races. There were multiple Zines drivers in this race a little bit ago. One of them won the race. That would be Jacob Derrick. That's just part of it. There is a community. There inevitably will be different setup shops on different cars for different drivers in all these races. And it's cool to see these guys be respectful from setup. We've seen the drama. Those of you that are in the iRacing community, of course, have seen drama between setup shops before, but Tyler Payne doesn't like to buy into that, just wants to go racing, have fun, and the community aspect pushed by EPI, I think, is one of the coolest coolest things, and something I really, really enjoy with our efforts here at Pit.TV. So www.raceepi.com. Even if you're already with another setup shop, at least be aware, because hey, if you ever need for some reason to have some kind of switch up, Elite Performance Industries, powered by the shop, has you covered, and will get your car moving quickly. I do want to circle back around to the upcoming broadcasts here at Pit.TV one more time, because we're going to touch once again on New Smyrna Speedway, and then again on USA International Speedway for the D-Line Racing League. And Terry, what's cool about these guys is they run late model stock cars at short tracks, much like we are doing here this evening, much like we're doing again on Monday evening, but they are running dual races, much like we're doing tonight. However, this is the kicker. They have the damage model healing enabled. Yeah, so effectively zero damage. They don't have to worry about fast repairs or pitting for those fast repairs. The damage model is effectively off. It's a very much esports field. It's a bunch of friends for the most part. Half of the field all knows each other and goes racing together in various lower level kind of semi-pro road series in cars like a Mazda Miata, a BMW E30, a Porsche Carrera Boxster, stuff like that. So it's cool to see these guys, these friends, go racing with effectively no damage and just have fun, because while they have no damage, it's not just a complete smash them up. They do get green flag racing in, and it's a lot of fun to watch. I think anybody who's looking for that fun kind of esports feel, 100%, this is the series for you that you've got to watch down Pit Stop TV. We weren't sure how it was going to go, Terry, but it was a lot of fun at South Boston, and that place is tiny. So if there's nowhere to go at South Boston and it was good, it's only going to get better at some of these bigger tracks like USA.
Oh, absolutely. And I actually can say I have a win at USA International. It's one of my favorite places to run any type of car over there. But a lot of good stuff coming up. The Sunday, you got the Sim Pit. You'll run at Long Beach. That's a tough racetrack to get around, I can tell you that much. So if you're a fan of road racing, you want to watch drivers try to get into turn one and try to get through the fountain section, well, that's what you need to do at 1:30 Eastern on Sunday.
And of course, then we'll begin a new week of broadcasting. We'll take these late model stocks to Nashville in 2 weeks' time, if you will, for round number 11 of the iRacing Cars Late Model Stock Tour. And then we'll have another round with the D-Line Racing League, and then we'll go on to the North American Racing League round number 4 from Redskogen Motor Center. But we'll talk about all of that and more in just a little bit. We're going to go back into break and hopefully have a new session of racing for you very, very soon. We've still got 50 laps of racing to go here at Langley Speedway, and we'll be right back very, very shortly. Well, unfortunately, welcome back. Not to the virtual, I guess technically to the virtual Langley Speedway, but not to any more racing. A couple of issues with setting up sessions. That's just how it goes sometimes. Technology, be darned. That happens. A little more infrequently than this, I'd say, but it happens. Eventually, it's going to be one of those days where the sim doesn't quite work out with you for whatever reason. So, we had 50 laps of racing, Terry, and we still got a fantastic look at the virtual Langley Speedway, how these cars race here, this wonderful new late model stock car that is on the sim, and there's still a lot of positives to take away as we still got to race. It wasn't in the same, I guess, what do you want to call it, the same... I don't even know. It wasn't the same amount of laps as we planned, I suppose, but we still went racing, we still had fun, and that's what matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, racing didn't happen real life at Langley Speedway, but when it does, when the next race, make sure you check Langley Speedway out on all of their social media platforms. See when their next race is. You can catch them on Flow. You can also check Flow Sports out and find it there. It was a good 50 laps. We had a good bit of cautions, but we saw the best car win. I think that was one of the takeaways you could have pulled out from this is, yep, we didn't get the second 50 lap. I think we would have knew who was going to win that race. I think we were both on the same idea that Derek was going to walk the dog again like he did in the first race. But, you know, we still got 50 laps of racing. That's more than we could say we got in the real world. I hate it for Mark Wirtz and those guys that in the 55 machine that was trying to go race. He was upset about it. But right here, EPI puts this event on, and we look forward to more events like this in the future.
Yeah, and the fun part, of course, about what we would have seen, I think, for Jacob Derrick in particular, is he would have been starting from 6th. But, hey, what I think this does is pave the way a little bit to bring a few more of these real events or real style events over to the sim. Take it to iRacing. That's the phrase coined this evening by Tyler Payne, and I think the man he is, knowing what he's like with this kind of thing, that'll probably snowball down the road. It might take a little bit. Of course, he's a very busy guy. He's got his son Grayson now racing Champ Karts, which is a great platform to start with and get a racing career started. So who knows? Maybe Grayson Payne goes on to be a NASCAR driver someday. So he's busy with that. But I think for sure we'll probably see this snowball in some regard, even if it takes until the winter and we do some kind of local style racing there with different cars. Who knows? I'm trying to put little pieces of ideas in Tyler's ear, but Tyler is just a big-time community guy here at iRacing, and I think we'll see still good positives come from this. We still got a great race in, a lot of fun this evening here at Pit Stop TV, and we certainly appreciate all of you guys tuning in. We're going to go ahead and close it there. I know it isn't how we planned for this to go. I know you guys wanted to see more racing action, but the good news is Monday evening you can come back to Pit Stop TV and see more racing with late model stocks, and same thing on Tuesday. So Monday we've got New Smyrna, 8:15 Eastern. Be here. That's official racing, the SOF split. Tuesday, the D-Line Racing League goes to USA at 9 Eastern. Again, you got to tune in, Pit Stop TV. We have some of the most late model stock racing you'll find on iRacing.com. We want you guys to flood these leagues, flood these series with views and driver registrations and everything. Let them know that this late model stock is the way to go, and just short track racing as a whole is appreciated on iRacing. Give these leagues some views. Be here Monday, Tuesday evening. We've got a lot of great racing. Otherwise, Terry, thanks so much for being here. I know it was a little bit of a weird way for this one to close out, but it is certainly appreciated having your voice, the voice of the Carolina Pro Late Model Series on the broadcast this evening. A pleasure as well to work with you finally. Friends for a while on Facebook, and finally got to meet you a couple of weeks ago. Good to work with you here this evening. It's been a lot of fun, but that is it. That is it here for us, Pit Stop TV. We'll see you next time, hopefully Monday evening, for the official SOF split of the iRacing Cars Late Model Stock Tour at New Smyrna.